something that you love that's not family or friends?
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
A few moments later.
And I think people are really tired of these culture war fights that are designed to tear us apart, designed to get us angry. I mean, there are difficult issues. Trying to figure out trans athletes in sports, that's an issue where we could actually come to a policy solution.
So we continue here with the same running theme that we've been using to discuss people like Francesca Hong and Abdul El-Sayed, which is obviously radical far-left Democrats who have been on the record doing so, now trying to desperately pivot, backtrack, and appear like a moderate before general election season, and it's just not working all that well. And get used to that, because this is going to be a recurring theme of the midterms, right? The entire communist strategy will be to try to gaslight and lie to you that, oh, you shouldn't believe the things we explicitly said on the record. No, we've changed. No, it's just woke one, even though the existence of woke one implies there's a woke two, which means they're coming back, right? This is who they are. They haven't changed a bit. But the good news is that a lot of these PR attempts don't seem to be working all that well. Firstly, because in many cases, we have Democrats who can't get out of their own way. They can't help themselves. Every time they try to rebrand or pivot, they suck themselves right back in. And that's a story, for example, with Hasan Piker that we'll discuss later in the video. But the main story of today's video revolves around a different far left radical lunatic that we discussed in the past, now trying to run himself as a sensible moderate by the name of James Talarico. That name probably rings a bell. That is, of course, the Texas Democrat Senate nominee who is known in the past for saying things like he's obsessed with transgender children and God is non-binary and we have to be vegan to support climate change, and then now claiming he loves Texas barbecue and all this different stuff, right? Just shameless political pivoting. But what's, of course, hilarious is that a major, quote, I'm a moderate type of PR attempt got busted today for being completely fake. To make a long story short, you may remember after the Republican primary in Texas, Talarico, again playing the moderate act, tried to make this big appeal to Republicans. He said to the Republicans who voted for John Cornyn, I'm a moderate liberal. You're welcome in this tent. We'll have you in, let's build this coalition together. And so there's this whole organization constructed that was supposed to be Republicans for James Talarico. Well, basically what happened is that in a similar story to, the Lincoln Project and Republicans against Trump and all that stuff, would it exactly surprise anyone to find out the people who are supposedly the Republicans for Talarico are not Republicans? They're just exposed now as tried and true liberals, and the whole thing was fake, right? Fake moderates. They literally planted their own far left activists to say, that whole act. As a lifelong Republican, I can no longer support where Trump is going. And then it turns out, oh, you're never a lifelong Republican. It's hilarious. You can't make this stuff up, right? But going here with our theme, this is what always happens when these radical left lunatics that nobody besides other radical left lunatics support try to recast themselves as moderates. It doesn't work because, frankly, look, voters can be pretty stupid. I'll acknowledge that, but I'm not sure if voters are this stupid. Okay. It's kind of hard to run away when, you have been saying insane stuff for the past several years and suddenly now I just care about affordability. Yeah, sure. Anyways, let's talk about it, guys. Pretty hilarious story. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And that said, let's start by, of course, reminding people as to why Talarico, besides the fact that he's running in Texas, is trying so hard to pretend as if he is this moderate and appeal to, let's say, Republican voters. Because not only does he have that past of crazy stuff, against Christians, transgender children, all that whatnot, but the attack ads being brought against him, make no mistake about it. For example, we have this one right here from the American Principles Project, are hitting it pretty hard. Check it out for yourself.
1, 2, 3.
She dreams of growing up, falling in love, becoming a mother.
4, 5, 6.
Keep counting.
7.
The trans industry preys on confused children. Irreversible puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, sex change surgeries. This November, stop them before it's too late. Paid for by American Principles Project.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. And I think the question still looms that even if you are a old school Bush Republican who's not the biggest fan of Trump or MAGA populism, whatever you want to call it, how can you sit there and support some lunatic like this, right? It's one thing to say I'm going to be a John McCain Democrat. It's another thing to, endorse one of the most socially radical people in the entire Democrat Party. But let's find out today how James Talarico tried and failed to get away from his supposedly woke one past right here. So Fox News reports that Texas Democrat Senate nominee James Talarico obviously would need to flip some Republican voters in order to win in Texas. But, quote, any chance that Talarico has in building any type of Republican coalition is a pipe dream for him. Nobody's going to follow him. He's completely out of touch with Texans, spoke out Republican National Committee Chairman Joe Gruters. But that's not just rhetoric. Take a listen here. This is going to be one of the most ridiculous things you've heard all week. So Gruters' rebuke came after female voters interviewed on MSNOW's Morning Joe, big surprise here, claimed themselves to be Republican crossover supporters only to, guess what, not be Republicans, to be essentially fake actors. At least here is the allegation coming out. Only to have long-standing ties to Democrats and anti-President Donald Trump groups. Not exactly the people that would be voting for a Republican Senate nominee, Ken Paxton, to begin with. So, quote, the people he had come out and said they were on his team to be, these, again, Republicans against Ken Paxton, Republicans for James Talarico, have been proven to basically be Democrat liberal activists that have been supporting Democrat candidates for the last 10 plus years. That's right. Oh, I voted for Bush in 2000, so that makes me a lifelong Republican. Yeah, not how it works. And by that token, by the way, most of, let's say, the Trump coalition, especially in the Midwest, voted for Obama in 2008. Can we all do this now, right? As a lifelong Democrat, I just cannot support what the party has become. It's just so ridiculous, right? It's honestly, it's one of the most overused, ridiculous tropes in general to begin with in American politics. This whole, as a lifelong this and that, I'm now against whatever. And usually they're lying, and that's been my theory for a long time, right? But this has been a thing. I remember in 2020, anyone remember the Lincoln Project, right? They were trying to do this whole Republicans against Trump thing. Yet you notice that none of their talking points were actually Republican or conservative at all. It's just like normal mainstream libtard nonsense, right? But here it goes on. So, quote, I just don't believe it, Gruters said. This is Kamala Harris's white dudes for Kamala, right? In other words, they didn't exist. It just doesn't exist. It's a wannabe attempt to try to build some crossover support. And specifically here, the reason this is all coming up, as you can see, for example, one of the women who was presented on MS Now as a Republican mother supporting Talarico was identified in subsequent reporting as Mindy McClear. She has FEC filings associating her with repeated Act Blue contributions benefiting Democrat candidates and political groups dating back to 2018. Oh, lifelong Republican here, right? Trump supporter who just can't get behind Talarico. Yeah, sure. Right? How ridiculous is that? And again, what's most hilarious about it? What does that tell you, by the way? This is how desperate they are to find any non-radical left lunatic who supports Talarico, right? They can't even go fish and find a real person. They send you a fake actor, put them on MSNBC, and expect us not to look into this or, figure out what's going on here. And everything about Democrats is fake. I think we know that to begin with, right? Even arguably the electoral majorities that they claim to have in some cycles, correlate that with the way elections are conducted in America. But still, regardless, right? They just tried to pull off a psyop in front of your face. You understand that? They might as well be wearing that little skin mask or whatever, trying to pretend to be someone else. That's how ridiculous this was. Yeah, let's send a freaking Democrat supporter and donor on TV and tell you that's a Republican activist, It's as fake as these people who supposedly, former CIA agent came on my podcast. It's the same garbage. It's literally a psychological operation. You understand that? It's just hilarious. So including donations here to Kamala Harris and the Lincoln Project. Oh, there you go. An anti-Trump political activist group. And the primary voting history of another woman featured in the campaign's outreach was exposed by a record showing more participation in Democratic rather than Republican primaries. Okay, so when reached out for comment on Sunday, they asked the Talarico campaign, hey, what do you have to say about the fact your actors on TV are fake people? Are endorsing, or here's what they had to say. Yeah, so the Talarico campaign said the women have no official ties to the campaign. Now you're going to disavow, right? Just like Hasan Piker has no official ties to Abdul El-Sayed. Yeah, sure. But the spokesperson pointed to the MSNOW interview, noting they had previously voted for Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott, one of whom vowed to never do again. The excuse here was Republicans in Texas are endorsing James Talarico and rejecting Ken Paxton because they know James will bring people together to lower costs while Paxton continues to enrich himself at the expense of working people. Oh, really? Republicans in Texas are endorsing James Talarico, you say? Okay, Talarico campaign, here's my challenge to you then. Find me one. Find me one, right? Because the ones you tried to trot out on TV are not real. So we're still waiting for the evidence of that. Where are these Republicans you say who are endorsing the trans the kids, gender mutilation for children, God is non-binary, but I'm a Christian minister, I swear, type of candidate? They don't exist. They're not real. Just like this entire rebrand attempt for you to pretend to be a moderate who just cares about affordability, not just talking about you, James Talarico. Everything they're saying and doing is fake. How illuminating is that, ladies and gentlemen? So there you basically have it. Anyways, of course, again, the other issue here that, we're massively dealing with, or I should say they are massively dealing with, is that every time they sit there and try to pivot from one thing, for example, Abdul El-Sayed, Hasan Piker, and the 9/11 comments, another new thing shows up, and we do have some clips now being circulated, and I assume going to be used as campaign ads here very soon, from Hasan Piker, spokesperson apparently of major Democrat candidates this cycle, as you well know, saying things like, and I quote, I love Lenin, Fidel Castro, and Che Guevara, and celebrating, in his own words, the impoverishing of the white middle class. Keep in mind, these elections are taking place in Texas, Michigan, and Wisconsin. These people are trying to tell us, oh, we're not even socialists, right? That's the new thing. They're not even saying they're socialists anymore, much less communists. And yet, I'm not a communist. I'm just endorsed by the communists and I support Vladimir Lenin. But I'm not a communist.
Fidel Castro and Che Guevara are genuinely two of the greatest revolutionaries in history. I love Lenin, I love Fidel Castro, and I love Che Guevara. They are genuinely fucking heroes. Okay?
Mandami's aide, his top aide, Sia Weaver, said if you don't believe in the government's sacred right to seize property, it's over. And impoverish the white middle class.
Beast mode. I love her so much. One of the things about Zoran is that the people surrounding him oftentimes are so much cooler than he is. But that's also part of the reason why I really respect what he's doing. She's awesome.
What? That's a goal?
Yeah, well, are you noticing a pattern here, ladies and gentlemen? We're not communists, but Lenin, Castro, and Guevara are, and I quote, genuine effing heroes. We're just sensible, moderate people who care about affordability, and we're running on lowering costs. Yet we apparently believe in the government's secret right to seize your private property, and our explicitly stated agenda is to impoverish the white middle class. But somehow it's about affordability. It's about helping you out, right? But we've explained many times, hopefully you remember, if not though, what Democrats mean when they say the word affordability. And keep in mind, if you're watching this video, it probably doesn't apply to you. What it really means is, take money, increase taxes, literally in their words, impoverish the white middle class, right? Raise taxes and raise costs for actual working American people in this country in order to, redistribute it to a bunch of like ghetto, grifters who aren't working and third worlders and foreign populations and people like that. That's what their affordability agenda is really about. We've tried to say that a million times. Of course, Mamdani's top aide publicly came out and explicitly stated that. And by the way, I think it's worth noting too, Hasan Piker can't even use the excuse for this clip in particular that this was woke one or it was a long time ago. Okay, this is literally a recent clip in the past couple of months, actually, as a matter of fact. But, you know, so, but then there you go. So you notice what's going on here? We're not communists, but we love Lenin. You know, we're running on affordability, but our explicitly stated goal is to impoverish the vast majority of the electorate of most American states. Okay? Republicans are supporting my campaign, but the Republicans claiming to do so are not actually Republicans. I pivoted, guys. I never said that I was vegan or something, you know, to quote James Talarico. I never said everyone has to be vegan to fight climate change. I never forced my campaign to go vegan in order to fight climate change. No, right? I love Texas barbecue. I just never said the things I clearly did say there on camera, okay? Don't believe us. Don't take us at our word. We swear we've changed. And then every time they claim to do that rebrand, notice how we discover, oh yeah, you didn't change, right? You didn't change. And not all the clips, by the way, are from Woke One. As if, by the way, that somehow makes it better, right? Imagine, for example, being at, let's say, the Nuremberg trials, okay? And, you know, the war criminals there, Goering just gets on the stage and says, hey, you know, that was Hitler 1. That was Nazi 1. We shouldn't be held accountable for our own words and our own actions because, you know, that was in the past. It was a couple months ago. It doesn't count anymore, right? As if that's how it works, as if that magically makes you someone who should be trusted. But here's the thing. There's obviously no proof of actual changing of heart, repentance, whatever, because look, they're still saying this garbage, right? They're still saying it. They're still doubling down on it. We busted them even in just explicitly lying when they're trying to do this campaign of being moderate because, ladies and gentlemen, these people really just think you're that stupid. We know exactly who they are. We shouldn't forget, and that's just what I'm going to say about it, right? And if you're going to be this radical revolutionary figure, you would think at least just have the principles to stand on what you believe and, you know, be honest. But like the cowards, like the weasels they are, whenever there's actual heat put on them, they say, oh, no, that was Woke One. No, we don't believe that anymore, right? Hasan Piker, oh, I just framed the 9/11 picture right behind me, but now I'm saying, no, I'm sorry. I apologize for the 9/11 thing. You just hung the poster 2 weeks ago, dude. But notice how like fundamentally cowardly and pathetic that behavior is too, right? They can't even stand by what they believe. Yeah, very telling. Anyways, though, that said, let me know your thoughts on this, guys, in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.